Hello, family. Even though I dropped the final video yesterday, it will not be justice if I didn't put these images together from her family in particular. The tributes from her uncle, Dr. Moma, and her little sister, Destiny, and Barrister Ebe, and Dr. Mary Moma are something to behold and save together for her children. Thanks to Dr. Pam Nem Pambe for sharing this timeless images. May the soul of the dearly departed, Dr. Sylvienash Moma, continue to rest in peace. Let me get out of the way so you can watch for yourself. I am asking for a friend news. I am Rosemary. Thank you.
My sister is here. Yeah, bring your own. Mine is here. Thank you, sis.
Your grace is lifting me high. Your grace is lifting me high. You set my soul on fire. Set my soul on fire. Hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Kasara. Jehovah Muri, Amusoro. Forever. Lift your hands if you believe. Marimukuru hakuna kafanana naye. From Harare kufika Bulawayo, we give him praise every day. Blessings from
Good evening. Yeah, it was 2 and then now it's 1. Yeah, my name is Dr. Moma'S. Well, I have been fighting with Sylvie for the last few years to change her name from Dr. Moma to Dr. Nyambi so I can be the only Dr. Moma. And she had refused stubbornly. I have called her husband and begged, and it hasn't happened. And today, for the first time, Sylvia, please come back and remain Dr. Moma. I'll be happy to share the stage with you. On behalf of the Moma'S family, I want to say thank you for coming. I know you guys came from far wide. You know, everybody came with a lot of questions. We're all grieving. We all want answers. 39 years old. When I was 39, I just wanted to conquer the world. But today we're laying Sylvie down. She just celebrated her birthday 2 months ago. It's painful. I have tried to shed tears, but I can't. I really cannot. And the reason is simple. Sylvie also took something from me, and I don't want it back. See, when Sylvie was born, my parents had to adopt her, and she became our last born. That was my position also. I have fought with her for quite a while. And Franca, who is our de facto mother, has been spoiling her, and I've said, Franca, you got to spoil me instead. She said, no, Sylvie is there. And today, Sylvie is not. And I want to say, Sylvie, I'll gladly give it back to you. I don't want it. Well, I've wrestled with Sylvie for several different ways, both in the way we live our lives and in the things that we aspire to do. I remember when we first moved here to the US, Sylvie was a little bit headstrong. And I remember calling Sylvie. I think one time I gave her a slap because she was partying too much. And then she left from there and she joined church. And then she went crazy. And she was the one that invited me to her church. And I remember her telling me to come in because her pastor had a prophecy for me. She had held my hand The last couple of years, we had argued, we had talked about spiritual things. We've gone deep, questioned life, try to understand the essence of life beyond everything. What is this life? What is this fanfare? What are the degrees? What is it that we're really looking for? That was a burning question that was always in Sylvie's mind. She wanted to understand. She wanted to find herself. And sometimes the way she goes about it may be unorthodox, but she always just wants to understand, why is she here? And we can see that in her life we saw resilience. We saw that Sylvie did everything. She traveled. Even in her sick bed, she was able to write books. Sylvie was able to open up her own clinic. Sylvie was able to do everything that she wanted to do. Nothing could stop her. Maybe that's why she had to go. Because she could have conquered the world. The world was not ready for her. Something else that I learned from Sylvie is that even in her illness, she's good at fooling everybody. She fooled me, and I'm a doctor. They'll call me one time that, oh, Sylvie's in a coma, she's in the hospital. The next week, I see Sylvie on social media, she's dancing, she's playing. Who has the same experience? Who feels the same way? And I think that is why this death is so shocking. This is why this death is so painful. As a matter of fact, it's not painful, I'm angry. I'm angry. I cannot breathe. Because I just saw Sylvie dancing. I remember talking to her about her books. And I said, girl, I'm going to critique you with a red pen. And she laughed. But the saddest part about it was the 2 days before Sylvie died, the July 4th weekend, I went there with my older sister, Dr. Ibe, and we sat down with Sylvie. And Sylvie is the only person that still calls me Daddy. That is how I was called growing up. I begged her to stop and she wouldn't stop either. And when we went there, Sylvie was confused. She couldn't recognize anybody. We were able to do some stuff, and finally she was awake, she was alert, and she could talk. And she held my hand and she said, Daddy, I am scared. For the first time, I lacked words to say. I wanted to tell her that, Sylvie, don't be scared. I will do everything for you. But I lacked words. I didn't know what to say. And all I could say was that, Sylvie, I am scared also. But let's be scared together. Sylvie was not scared of dying. We've talked about this before. That was not what she was scared of. Sylvie believed in eternal life. Sylvie believed that from life we came and from life we will return. Sylvie knows that her spirit will never die. But she also understands that there are things that she needs to do. She has twins, they're only 10 years old. She's been married, only 4 years old. She spent the entire time in her marriage life, poor Brian, dealing with all of these things. I know she still finds time to enjoy, but it was bad. I would say, we understand your pain, brother. We all shared in it. I can go on and on and on and on and on, and there will be never any word to describe this moment. There will be never any word that can tell me in my heart that it's okay. So please don't tell me it's okay. It is not okay. She's only 39. I can talk about Sylvie, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, everything. She encompasses every single thing. But Sylvie, if I'm going to take my last born back, then I'm going to take a big step. So I'm going to ask my sister right here to make sure that the first thing she's buying for me is very expensive. Yes, really. And if I'm going to be the only Dr. Moma, I'll hold it with pride. And in that note, I want to talk about something else from a professional standpoint. Sylvie died of breast cancer. Yes, it's true, breast cancer does not define Sylvie. Sylvie had breast cancer, Sylvie was not breast cancer. But this tells us that we are living in an age that I think there's a
Hello everyone, and thank you for being here today as we gather together and celebrate the life of my sister. I've been trying to figure out how you write goodbye to someone who was never just a person in your life, but a part of the way you learn to understand life itself. How do you stand in front of a room full of people and somehow put into words what it meant to have someone be your sister? Your first example of womanhood, your first glimpse of adulthood, your first hero, and in so many ways, someone you spent your whole life trying to understand. My sister was 12 years older than me, and when you're a little girl, 12 years might as well be a lifetime. She wasn't just my older sister. She was grown, beautiful, she was smart, she had places to go and people waiting for her, and a life that seemed so much bigger than mine. And I remember looking at her and thinking, I want to be just like her. I wanted her clothes, her confidence, her beauty. I wanted her attention. And if I'm being completely honest, I wanted her to love me with the same intensity that I loved her. I wanted my big sister to look at me and think I was special, because to me, she was everything. I remember visiting her in college, walking into that little dorm room and feeling like I had somehow walked into the beginning of greatness. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't some grand place that would mean anything to anybody else, but to me, it was hers. And because it was hers, it felt important. I didn't understand what she was studying or where it would take her. I just knew she was becoming somebody. Then she got her first apartment. She had her own bills, her own refrigerator covered in schedules I couldn't understand, and a bathroom full of perfume and makeup that in my mind belonged in a museum. And whenever she left, I would turn that bathroom into my own little beauty counter. I would try her lipstick, I would spray her perfume, I would stand in the mirror and experiment with becoming a woman before I was old enough to understand what that actually meant. And I've thought about that so many times since she died, because I realize now that I wasn't really trying on her lipstick. I was trying on her courage. I was borrowing her confidence. I was trying to understand what it felt like to be a woman who seemed to know where she was going. I didn't have the words for that as a little girl. I just knew that whatever my sister had, I wanted some of it too. But growing up does something to the people you idolize. At first, you only see the greatness. Then eventually, if you're lucky enough to really know them, you begin to see the person underneath it. I stopped seeing only the degrees and the accomplishments and the confidence. I started seeing Sylvie, my sister, the woman underneath doctor, the woman underneath pastor, wife, mother, entrepreneur, mentor, all the titles that followed her name. And that is where my love for her changed. Because admiration is easy when someone seems perfect from far away. But real love happens when you get close enough to see the complicated parts and decide that you love the whole person anyway. My sister was not perfect, and she never needed to be. She was brilliant and ridiculous. She was strong and sensitive. She could be stubborn enough to make you want to pull out your hair, but loving enough to make you forget why you were frustrated in the first place. She had a way of taking up space without asking for permission, and somehow, even when she was not trying, you knew she had earned the room. Her laugh got there before she did. She could start talking before you had even finished saying hello, because apparently the conversation had already started somewhere in her head. She danced like nobody was watching, despite the fact that everybody was. And if Sylvie decided she was going to do something, there was very little anybody could do to convince her otherwise. My favorite example is still the corn story. I remember one day, I called my sister, and she told me that my mom told her she couldn't have corn this day. And somehow, that became a challenge for Sylvie. When I was on the phone, I was hearing footsteps, as if somebody was in the jungle. And I asked, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm walking." I said, "Walking where?" She said, "To get corn. Somebody nearby is selling it." That was my sister. You could tell her no, and she would hear, "Let me find another way." And honestly, that stubbornness probably carried her through more mountains than any of us will ever know. They're parts of your own life. We saw you leave your home in Michigan and spend months at a time in Colorado because your daughter needed you. We saw you step into a role that was not always easy, and we saw you keep showing up. And I know Sylvie saw it too. She used to tell me, if anybody could clean a house spotless, there is nobody better than Mom. And she meant it. Because Mom didn't just clean a house. She noticed things, the little things, the things other people didn't think about, the things that became exhausting when you were already exhausted. And when someone is sick, when life has become appointments and medications and uncertainty, sometimes love doesn't look like a grand speech. Sometimes love looks like somebody washing the dishes, cleaning the bathroom, noticing what needs to be done before you even have the strength to ask. Sometimes love is simply someone making your load a little lighter. And Mom, you did that for her. I know you and Sylvie did not always have the easiest relationship. I know there were things between you that only the two of you could ever truly understand. I know that sometimes your way of loving your children has been through tough love. And I know that kind of love isn't always easy to receive, and it isn't always easy to give. But I also know something became very clear in those final years. The only thing Sylvie ever wanted from you was to be her mom. And when everything else fell away, when the disagreements didn't matter anymore, when pride didn't matter anymore, when life became about getting through one more day, there you were, her mom. And in those moments, I think Sylvie realized something. That was unconditional love. That was her mother being her mother. Because no matter how complicated life had been, no matter what had happened between you when your daughter needed you, you came. You left your home, your comfort, you rearranged your life, and you showed up. And Mom, I hope you know how much that meant to her. Because sometimes we don't get the perfect relationship with our parents. Sometimes love doesn't look the way we imagined it would. Sometimes people don't always know how to say I love you in the ways we need to hear it. But Sylvie knew something. I know she knew that. She knew that when the moment came, her mother would come too. And Mom, I want you to carry that with you. You were there. You loved her in the way you knew how. You made her life a little lighter when it was becoming unbearably heavy. And I believe that somewhere in those quiet moments, in the clean house, in the little things you noticed, in the meals, the errands, the care, the simply being there, Sylvie knew deep down. She knew she was loved by you. And I hope, Mom, that when you think about the last few years, you don't only remember what was hard. I hope you remember that your daughter needed her mother and you answered. You showed up and Sylvie knew. So today, Mom, I want you to hear from me what I hope Sylvie would want you to hear too. Thank you. Thank you for loving my sister. Thank you for leaving everything familiar to be beside her. Thank you for taking care of the things she couldn't always take care of herself. Thank you for making her load lighter. Thank you for being her mom. Because in the end, I think that is what Sylvie wanted most. Not perfection, not an apology for the past, not some perfect version of motherhood, just her mom. And when she needed you most, you were there. We saw you, and I know Sylvie did too. To Brian, thank you for loving my sister through every season. Thank you for knowing the woman behind all the titles and for walking beside her through seasons that were beautiful and seasons that were unbearably hard. To Zoe and CJ, your mother loved you before she ever met you. And I need you to know that death does not erase that love. You will carry her in ways you may not understand yet. You will hear her in your own laughter. You will recognize her stubbornness in yourself and hopefully smile instead of getting annoyed. You will carry her courage, her faith, her confidence, her tenderness, her refusal to quit. And one day, when someone tells you, you remind me so much of your mother, I hope you understand what a gift that is.
Thank you, Mr. MC. What a wonderful work you've doing so far. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. And my wife, who was Dr. Mary Eve, stands next to me, as always. We are 18. And I have been given the honor and privilege to give the final vote of thanks to everyone in this room today. It is indeed a great honor. My mother-in-law, the Lord rest her soul, Mama used to say, you know, Papa, you are the first son of the Moma'S now, married to their eldest child. So I take that role very seriously. And whenever I'm called upon to play that role, it is that which I take very dutifully and must do homage as well as kindness to. We're here, of course, to thank everyone. But before we do that, I just need to share quickly something that perhaps everyone in this room here will find a bit, maybe some courage when I preach in this little story. The last time I spoke to Sylvie was on May 2nd. Incidentally, my daughter asked me that question this evening. When was the last time you spoke to Sylvie? I said May 2nd, 2026. On May 2nd, 2026, I was at the University of Michigan Hospital. I was in the cancer unit. My nephew, whom I call my son, was quite ill. My wife had never seen me in that state that day. Father Moma'S was in the Cayman Islands, and I called him, screaming. He said, I've never heard you well this way. Apparently my wife had informed the entire family about it as well. Sylvie called me, even though I knew she was quite ill then, because we're dealing with two cancer on the West Coast and here in the Midwest. My nephew and Sylvie. She gave me a word of reassurance. That uncle, everything's gonna be okay. I said, gee, man, how do you find the energy and the time to recall in your moment of distress? Imagine that. She still thought about me at that very moment. That tells you the spirit and the heart of the woman. My nephew, the uncles, the aunts, the cousins, the nieces and nephews, the in-laws, the friends. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming here today. For the last 2 days and the last 3. Many of you came from far and wide, including those from Finland, Jeffrey, in the UK, Noella, Ngwa, and the rest of you who came from different places, different states. We truly are very grateful, immensely grateful for your sacrifice, for your concerns, for your prayers, for your unequivocal support for our family at this incredibly difficult time. We remain in your gratitude forever. And I pray that you, as you go back home to your various destinations, that God will grant you journey mercy. And that you, please do not forget this family. There's always a saying like, you know what? When the party stops and the music stops playing and the guests all get off and the chairs all removed, will you still be there? Please remember to reach out to the family the day after tomorrow, the week after that, the months after that, and the years that comes and follows. They will always need your support and prayers. I'm also a man of faith. My favorite song is what I will leave you with. While I'm not going to recite the song, but you will know it once I mention it. Psalm 23. For the Lord is my shepherd. I'm only going to tell you that King David, when that psalm was told off, it was written at the moment of grief, at the moment of sorrow, at the moment of anguish and pure pain like we feel today. Everyone in this room feel that pain. Everyone in this room feel that anguish. But I tell you, if you call yourself a person of faith, and we believe that our daughter, our niece, our mother, our wife, our friend is in heaven, we will also take comfort that our dear Lord